I figured I would put together a brief video tonight to complement the blog entry that I wrote on Consolation earlier tonight. It means a lot to me, uh, coming as someone who's been going through a bit of a tough stretch uh, personally. Uh, as a lot of you know who read my material, I've been building my collection of retro video games over the last couple of years or so. Although I've really been taking it to heart over the last year. Um, I added a regular Nintendo that I got as a gift for my 40th birthday. I got a Sega Genesis and I got a Super Nintendo all in the span of the springtime. And then I was given a GameCube during the summer. So I've amassed quite the collection of older games and systems, and I uh, I had said, and I believe, at least in part, that I had done this more as kind of like a raging against the machine kind of thing. Um, Modern gaming kind of making me mad. Lots of loading time and downloadable content and stuff that I don't agree with. Um, and that still holds true. I don't claim that it's any different. But in putting together the consolation entry tonight, uh, I realized that there's a secondary reason why I've kind of gone through all this, uh, and it's because during those time periods, during the regular Nintendo period that I had, and during the Sega Genesis period, the Super Nintendo period, the PlayStation period, these are all signposts in my personal life. Um, the regular Nintendo, for example, was the Christmas of 1990. So we're getting to the wow. It's going to be what 22 years ago this year. I was still playing games on my Commodore 64 at the time. Just gotten out of high school, going to college, and I wasn't working at the time. I was focusing solely on school. That was kind of the agreement that I had. And a couple of friends that had a regular Nintendo used to visit during the summer, and I knew I really wanted one. So when my grandmother asked me what it was that I wanted for Christmas, I put together this elaborate presentation, and this was before PowerPoint was really big, obviously. I opened up the catalog and I said, this is what I want and this is why, and I explained why the Commodore 64 was old hat, and it worked. I on the morning of December 25th, I woke up, I went downstairs. There was a big gift there, and that was really the beginning of the Nintendo era for me. I got Jeopardy 25th Anniversary Edition. I got Super C, and I got Super Mario 3. Those are the games that I started with, and since then, I've had the regular Nintendo a couple of times, and I wound up trading it in because there were other things that I wanted, and I was kind of dumb. As with any system trade-in that I've made, I regret it now. I didn't regret it then, but I regret it now. But in any event, that was significant because it was my first entry into the whole Nintendo Mania thing that I had really missed out on um, before that. Then with the Super Nintendo, that was the first console that I got for myself. I got that at launch. That was significant. My first kind of passage into adulthood, if you will. The Genesis was kind of the same thing. Living on my own, found it used at a local video game store. Joe Montana '93 just absolutely knocked my socks off with sports talk, and I had to have that, so I bought that. And it's still living with roommates at the time, just outside of Worcester, Mass, and that was significant. Uh, the PlayStation was significant because that was the first Sony system that I was interested in. I was so pro Nintendo at the time that um, kind of making the departure, going away from the Super Nintendo or waiting for the Nintendo 64 or the Ultra 64 as it was called at the time, seemed silly. But I mortgaged the farm to get the PlayStation because I was just so blown away by it, having played an import model. So that still remains significant to me today. And then, of course, the Nintendo 64 that I wrote about. That system I got less than a month before my grandmother passed, and I used that pretty much as a tool to deal with my grief and to kind of keep myself occupied and uh, not thinking about how lousy my life was at the time. And then, as luck would have it, not only was that a low point in my life that I used video games to kind of get by, but then I wound up meeting somebody after my life had completely gone to crap. In '97 and '98, I met a girl who I wound up marrying, although it didn't work out. I wound up getting my first job in video game retail, working for Funko Land, and that was a high point in my life. So I had gone from way down here to way up here in a relatively short span. And the 64 was kind of reflects both periods of my life. Um, where I remember playing Super Mario 64 when I got the call about my grandmother having finally passed, to playing games like NFL Blitz and WCW NWO Revenge and F-Zero X in '98, when things were really going well in my life and I was in the middle of a turnaround. And then the Dreamcast, which was '99. I was a store manager at that time, and that was the first console that I really went all in on. After telling myself that I wasn't going to buy anything Sega after the 32X and the Sega CD were big disappointments, I went with the Dreamcast after playing a import version of that, and the rest was history. Then the PlayStation 2 is significant because I was dealing with the death of the Dreamcast and all of that money that I spent kind of going to crap because there were going to be no more Dreamcast games after less than 3 years. And then that was also the beginning of my writing career. I did a lot of my video game review work and really got into the industry, as it were, during the PlayStation 2 period. And I wrote all about this in my Consolation blog, but I kind of wanted to expand on it. And it's important to me as I build this collection of older games and older systems, and I still have my GX TV, my CRT device that isn't high def and doesn't have to be, and that's how I can enjoy those games the way that I enjoyed them for many years. And I'm hoping to continue to build that collection, not just to enjoy the games again and to have a less expensive way to build a library again. But I admit that I'm collecting these things equally to kind of get the past back a little bit and to use these things as a vehicle to try and get through this rough patch in my personal life that I'm dealing with. And I think that that's a pretty important distinction to make. And it's a bit of a weight off my shoulders to kind of come to that realization and to know that it's an important reason why I decided to do that. So this is really more of a rough video to go with the blog, and I'm not going to get into all the specifics about the 64 that I got into with the blog entry, but I thought that it would be interesting to give a heartfelt explanation to go with my writing tonight, so you could see and put a voice to the words that you may or may not have read. And of course, I appreciate anyone having visited the blog or Twitter or anything like that. So that's it for now. I may do more of these if you guys like it, but I need to keep this thing under 10 minutes, so that's what I'm going to do. Have a good rest of your holiday season, everybody, and we may do this again soon.